All right, going through glue up right now. My wife is over there puttying any little gaps and then sanding after the putty is dry while I'm gluing up. I'll go through this process real quick. So I'm putting glue all the way along this inside of every groove. I'm gluing it to the MDF panel as well. MDF panel has a rabbet, which leaves a 1/4 inch reveal. So that's a 1/2 inch rabbet going into a 1/4 inch groove, leaving a 1/4 inch reveal on the back. I'm also putting glue on all the surfaces of the tenon. None right here on the end grain because it's already there in the groove on that one. And then checking for square and clamping up and dropping 3 pin nails into every one. So hopefully you'll be able to see that from the pocket of the apron. And here we go. Just a thin bead. And I'm not worried about full coverage except at the ends. And that's a food service bottle from Walmart for 97 cents. A nice tip that fits right down in the groove. And then I'm dropping just a little bit on the end grain right there. And then running it in the groove. And I'm getting plenty of squeeze out when I do this, so maybe a little wasteful, but at least I'll have plenty of glue in the joint. I've marked on the back, or my wife's marked on the back, those look like her markings, which joint goes together. So that's a 4, that's gonna go with that 4. Some of those are on the back, some of them are on the front. We weren't real picky about where we put them. And we marked a good face and a bad face on every one. Marked a bad face with an X and put that towards the back. So more putty work on those sides and more sanding on those sides. Okay, so drop that down, fit that into the groove, and I'm not too worried about placement. I'm using Titebond 2 on this, so a little more open time than the original. And then I'm trying to line up my corners as I go, bringing in the enforcer when needed. Just pop it down in there. Just use my fingers to find when I'm pretty flush. And I found that putting one rail, that's a stile, one stile, and then both rails, and then the last stile was the best way to go. And that is pretty flush down there, and I can do any little extra bits I need when I have it all together. And each corner I'm trying to line up nice and tight as I put it together. And I prefer it sticking out a bit than in a bit because it's easier to bang on the outside than on the inside. That's pretty flush. That one needs to come out just a smidge too much. That's good. That one's good. That one's good. Bring it up to the clamp. I'm doing the whole thing on the clamp so that keeps it off the work surface so I don't glue it down. Although this is urethane, so the glue doesn't stick real well to it anyway. And then tighten down my clamps. Watch that nice squeeze out of the glue. If not perfectly all the way across, plenty anyway. So I'm tightening it down and then I'm checking for square. I've checked for square on insides and outsides. I think I like the outside better. That is 35.5 plus 1 tick. And that's 35.5 without 1 tick. So I need this one to come down a little bit. So I'm just loosening my clamps a little bit. Loosen a little bit. And give her a little pop. Make sure I'm still flush down there. Measure again. That moved a tiny bit, not much. A little pop again. 35.5 plus a 1/2 tick. 35.5 plus a 1/2 tick. That should be square. And then I'm checking the insides. No wiggle on that. No light showing. And I was checking the insides for square only at first. And then I had one that wasn't square, and I started getting on there, checking square on the outside, and I was driving myself nuts with it until I grabbed my tape measure and checked it on diagonals, and that is the best way to do it. We want the outer surface to be square. If we're off by just the teeniest hair on the inner surface, not a big deal. So that's 35.5 plus half a tick. 35.5 plus half a tick. And that is just perfect. So I'm tightening those down real good. Not worried about marring the surfaces. You'll notice I have leather on these. That actually was not for woodworking purposes. These are brand new ones that I bought for this project, and they don't have anything on them, but I'm not worried about that because she's still going to sand them after they're done. So I have a nice damp cloth here, and I'm coming in and just wipe off the bulk, folding frequently. These are going to be painted, so I'm not worried about having a little bit of glue in the grain. Not worried about adhesion issues because I'll prime and paint. And then coming back and wiping up real good. Wipe the ends. Wipe the ends. And then I get a little tiny bit of squeeze out on the inside corner, so I'm just coming in with a chisel and peeling that out of there. Just a tiny bit. I don't want that to show up through the paint and telegraph through the paint. That one has so little, it's almost not worth bothering with. That one has none at all. And then flip the whole shebang over. And do the glue wiping the same exact way. You can see how rough some of these back surfaces are here. Wipe it good, wipe it good. Try and stay away from the corners of that MDF so it doesn't get wet and start to swell. That's done there. And then I have 5/8 23 gauge pin nails here. And I'm just popping those 3 through each. So it'll be going through the tenon and into the other side. Putting them real close to the line. And since I only have enough clamps to do 4 of these at a time, I'm putting those pin nails in so that I can come back and work on them sooner. So I'm taking one that I've glued up and pinned and setting it aside as the newest glue surface, just setting it aside. And then the one on the back here is the oldest glue surface. So I'm just coming in and moving them over. And these are my 2 clamps that don't match. I tried to buy enough clamps that I could do more of these at a time, but they were all out of the clamps that I wanted. I had to go to 2 different Harbor Freights to get the clamps that I did get. So now you can see just how tight those are. And they stay nice and tight as I remove the clamping force. And now I'm pulling one out. Go ahead and back those clamps out all the way. So I have full movement on the next one. Back those out a bit. Back those out a bit. Pull that out of there. And set it aside for my wife to putty the joints. And that's it. That's the glue up process. So I'll let y'all go.